Well, hello. Today is Monday, July 29th, 2024. It is 11:30 a.m. It's been a minute since I've been on here. I've been going through some roller coasters. I've been going through some stuff. I've been healing. I've been learning, trying to grow. I'm failing. I'm succeeding. I'm also trying to build boundaries and build walls, and cut some energy and some people that I know aren't good, and trust those that I'm learning to trust and be okay trusting, and trying to speak truth when I speak truth, and trying to be who God says I am, I guess. If you see me on YouTube, you are in my life every day. and you're probably not on my Facebook. And so I share my journey a lot on my Facebook, and I have peeps, I have a circle, I have a group that are all so diversely different. Yet somehow I think that everybody is starting to understand themselves and understand me in this process. And it's so scary, and it's so surreal, and it's so weird. Because I am trying to stay as biblical as I possibly can on every level. In every dimension, in every form, in every era, in every time. Yet fight for something that's coming that we do not yet know, but we know because it's in Revelations. And now I'm bringing out Revelations, and I'm bringing out religion, and we're bringing things out into the open, and we're all starting to rise up, and we're all starting to see things with new eyes, and we're all starting to grow and learn and change within ourselves, within our people, within our families, within our communities, and we're all watching this happen with each other. And people's view of me continues to change as they're evolving, as they're changing, as they're seeing things with new eyes, and I watch it. And I'm watching everybody's journey on Facebook, and I'm going, oh my God. Do you know where they were at and where they are now? And to see that, and I go, holy cow. And it makes me shake. The reality of all of this. The understanding, the grasp of what is happening. And again, I know that if you are catching up, or if you've never seen me and you don't know what's happening, and I look crazy to you, and I look like, what the freak is this woman talking about? God, I know. I'm going to give you a little bit of history about me. And for those of you who have been watching my journey, I know that I sound like I'm being repetitive, but I think that we are gathering new people and getting a better understanding of this. So I have to retell my testimony, but I think I have to keep telling it different so that the new people see it, but you all who know me see it different too. Does that make sense? This is so weird. I cuss. I'm a sinner. I am just like you. I am not holier than thou. I am not better than somebody else. I am just like the people that were used in the Bible. They were sinners. They were in prison. They have different viewpoints of God. Read your Bible. I'm not a preacher. I am not here to shove religion down your throat. I am not here to shove scripture down your throat. I do not read the Bible on a daily basis in the way that everybody else does. My devotion with God is very different than the norm. I do not dress like this because I'm a slut. I do not dress like this because I am trying to get attention and I am trying to present myself in a manner that is not okay with society. I don't know the best way to word that with people. I am who I am, and I am comfortable in my skin, and I'm comfortable with who God created me to be, with scars, with tattoos, with flaws. I am not a perfect woman. I have stretch marks. I have bags. I used to be a very, very big woman, and I am no longer that. And so I am proud of where I am, and I'm proud of my skin and who I am in that. I live in an RV, and I live lake life, and I live in Texas, and it's very, very humid out here. And so I tend to live my summers in my bathing suit because it's easier on laundry. I don't have a vehicle, and so I've had to move different times and different ways to support myself and be okay with things. And so I walk a lot, and I live locally, and I just am getting back on my feet in different ways and learning about myself in the process, and living in fear and doing things weird and looking crazy. And there's a lot to this that I know. To those of you who don't know me but are meeting me for the first time on Facebook, this is all very, very confusing. But there are people who have been watching my journey, and there are people who have been seeing this unfold for over a year. I started documenting my journey on Facebook over a year ago. Man, this is so weird to tell my testimony like this. It's a lot. There's so many details to this story. There is a lot that when I tell you my parts of the testimony, there's a lot I'm leaving out, not because I'm trying to hide anything, or not because I'm not who I say I am, or not because I don't have a past, or not, but because it goes deep rooted. There's so much happening. There's a bigger piece to this. There's a bigger puzzle. It's higher. There's more to it. But I don't know how yet to explain that to people, which is why God has been giving me peeps and putting people in my life and putting a circle in my life of people who I think are starting to see this differently and I think is now at a point in their journeys to back me. And my truth is my truth, and my honesty is my honesty, and my loyalty is my loyalty, and my leadership is my leadership. But I don't label that. I just do stuff. And I try to do stuff when God tells me to do them, and I try to be still when God tells me to be still. I try to move when God tells me to move. But it all looks different to a whole bunch of different people based on their perspective of how they know me, how they knew me, where they see me, how they see me. But isn't that all biblical? Isn't that saying what would Jesus do? Isn't that being the disciple? Isn't that walking on earth in our time, in our era, in our day, in our time? It's a bunch of different names. He goes by many names. Universe, spirit, energy. But it's all one God. I can't believe that I don't come on here and discuss or think about what I'm going to write. I have been telling my journey on Facebook, and I have been boldly putting stuff out there for people to make their own choice. Isn't that biblical? We accept people for who they are, where they're at in their journey, but we boldly speak truth when we have enough evidence, or we have enough to support that, or we have enough to say, is this now true? You have to build a case. You have to build a relationship. You have to build a boundary. You have to build trust. You have to know who you are in Christ, and you have to stand before God in that. I'm going to take you deeper. If you have been on my journey, this will make sense to you. If you are new to my journey and you're not quite understanding all of this, that completely makes sense why you see me the way that you do. I am not judging you. I am not taking offense to what you're saying to me. I am not trying to be better or holier than anybody else. I have a depth and an understanding of relationships now that I've never had before. I see the Bible differently than other people do. But some way, somehow, there is a mass of people who are relating to what I'm saying on a level in which they understand the Bible. But they are opening their eyes and they're opening their minds and they're opening their hearts and they're opening the way they see and perceive and understand not only themselves but the people around them. So I'm going to go bigger in a way of revelations that I want some that need to understand this. This is a word for somebody. Maybe not you because you're not at that level or that understanding or that knowledge or that wisdom or that understanding because you're going through something, not because you're dumb, not because you don't understand. The Bible is very, very hard to understand if it's in a language that you don't understand it. The Bible is for everybody based on your relationship with God and how you see Him. That isn't for me to judge. That isn't for me to say. But I'm going to share with you my journey and my understanding of the Bible on a whole bunch of different levels that I have been learning as I'm doing this. If you look at the world as a whole and what is happening in this world, Israel is the root of this world biblically. But what happens when there's a new level and there's a new devil and an era and a time in which we do not yet understand? He slips in with sheep's with wool's clothing. China is the sheep in wolves' clothing, and Israel is the I'm losing my words because the devil is trying to stop me. We are living in confusion. Focus. God help me focus. We are living in confusion and we are not understanding everything that is happening. If you will look at Revelations deeper on a deeper level, depending on where you are spiritually, this is going to make sense to you. Israel is a distraction to let China in. Focus on China. Bring that to surface and we will see things with new eyes in Revelations that we've not seen before. Who is connecting to China and how is China connecting to all of this? AI is a connection with electronics and technology that China has that we do not yet know. They are smarter technically than we are. The Tesla guy, where does he fit in this? I don't know his name. I know who he is and I know his face, but I'm not good with names. But somebody out there knows who he is. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I see things or I know things when I'm supposed to know them and I know who they are and I keep contact, but I don't watch it 24/7. I don't watch TV. This is so weird. The Tesla guy knows technology just as well as China, but is he using it for good? Is he using it for evil? I don't know yet. Do you? That's your gifting. That's your purpose. That's your knowing. That's your intuition. That's your discern. I'm not on that political level, but somebody else is. Spiritually, somebody else is on that political level to see this differently. And if that is you, rise up because something is happening. The shift is coming. There's something coming. There's something happening, you guys. I don't know how to explain this journey to people, but I just keep going. Freaking out. Who do you trust? Who do you know? Donald Trump got shot at. Everything is biblical in that. I posted about looking at our presidents. Which ones aged and how fast have they aged? Your body can tell you a lot about the sin that you're carrying based on how you present your body. That's spiritual for some, that's flesh for others. Does this make sense? If you are healthy, if you are speaking truth, if you don't have anything to hide, if you don't have to continue to hide your lies with other lies, and you don't have to, you are healthy, you are good, you are prime. There are things that are right. There are things that are going right in your personal life. In your personal healing. But if you look at others who have addictions, if you look at others, how are they deteriorating? What is happening to their bodies? Is their addiction healthy or unhealthy? Weight loss, alcohol, drugs, mental illness, disease. I do not have the answers, and if you're going to ask me about cancer, if you're going to ask me about death, if you're going to ask me about questions, I do not have the answers to those. That is between you and God, and that's for something for you to look at in your relationship with God, and for you to question and judge and look at. I am not the keeper of that. I am not the messenger of that. But if you talk to cancer survivors, ask some of them how they got through that. What kept them going? Did they listen to the doctors? Did they not listen to the doctors? You guys, there's movies after movies that are based on true stories of people who prayed, who relied on God, who had a faith they never had before, and God did miracles physically to them. The question then becomes, can we heal people physically? I don't know. But we're seeing it happen in other countries. We're seeing it happen in other areas of people's lives. We're seeing things happen, but is it being done with the correct mindset? Is it being done for the correct person, the correct way? Are they helping or are they hindering the people around them? Are they pushing others to use their giftings? Are they helping others to grow? Are they with them in their pain? Are they fruitful? Are you fruitful in your choices that you're making in your life based on the boundaries and the way that you're setting them up? And are you trusting in the boundaries that you're setting in the circle of people and the influence? Are you an influencer? Are you a mentor? Are you a teacher? Are you a leader? Are you a business owner? You get where I'm going with this? Are you a political influence in your community? Are you someone they can trust in your community? Are you helping or hindering a community? It starts with you. It starts with your mindset. What would Jesus do is your mindset. The Holy Spirit is a discernment. It is a feeling. It is an understanding. It is an intuition. It is a gut. It is a discernment and is an obedience. It is something that you rely on, knowing it's from God and when to use it. But how do you center yourself? How do you align yourself? How do you understand the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Three in one. You can go deeper within yourself, trusting who you are to get out of it. Because you now know the difference between good and bad within yourself, within your body, and within your mind. You are fighting good versus evil. You are fighting your dark side. You are fighting the devil within yourself. You are fighting the sheep's in wolf clothing when you hold on to your character of who you are, and you will screw it up. And you will not be perfect. And you will make mistakes. And you will get judged. And you will get looked at. And you will own it. Take responsibility for it. Repent. Your sin does not define you. Hold on to your truth. Hold on to your belief. Rise up, because we are at a spiritual, mental, and physical war. You can take an onion, you can slice it, you can dice it, you can do 20 million things with an onion. But then you learn the colors of the onions and what each color of the onion does. Each onion has a different purpose. It's a cooking term for those that cook. I'm going to help you out here. We use different knives for different things, right? Each knife has a name. I don't know the names. I don't know what type of knife does what. I just know when I go to get an onion, this knife looks good. This is the one I like to use for this, but I don't know the names of the knives. Does this make sense to people? I don't know names. I'm not good with names. I know song after song after song. I don't know who sings the songs, but I know the songs. I know the words. Some of them have stuck into me more. I'm getting to know who they are a little bit more, but that's for my peeps who are really good with music, and they're like, hey, do you remember that? Oh, yeah. I don't know the names, but I know the songs. I don't know how I know the songs. I don't know how I know music. I was in marching band, and I couldn't read music. I don't know numbers. I don't know math. I'm not good at it, but I did in marching band, and I knew I had to be at this point in the song, and I had to be at this point. I just felt the beat. I just kind of went with it. But we were all in unison. We all had to work together. We all had to know our spots, know where we were, and we had to know where we were in the beat and the music. We all had a purpose. A drummer has a purpose. A guitarist has a purpose. A singer. And sometimes the singer gets looked at differently than the rest of the band because that's who they're focused on. Ooh, this is deep, y'all. I don't know what's happening. Look at worship teams. I posted a song about God Don't Let Me Go, or called Yet, or I don't know, you're going to have to look it up, or so. This is so weird. When I watched the video, I listened to the words of the song, not the singer who was singing it, but I saw her pain in singing it, and I saw the pain of the people around them. And every time that I watch that song, I go, that's God in that room, healing the broken, bringing them to their knees in a way that they've never seen or heard or felt before, in a conviction that they have never known, in a moment with God that is between them. And no one had to know what their pain was, but they understood their pain when they looked at him because they had been there before. I don't have to know your story to know your pain. Because pain is a feeling we all feel. Abandonment and rejection is a feeling that somewhere in all of us we feel. How we coped with it, how we dealt with it, how we looked at it, how it traumatized us. Whether that's PTSD, whether that's anxiety, whether that's an addiction. It doesn't flippin' matter. What matters is how you pulled out of it. What matters is who helped you pull out of it. What matters is how you see yourself every minute and every day, and how you keep going, no matter the storm, no matter what it looks like, no matter what the circumstances are. You do it. Fuck. You become vulnerable in something that you don't understand. And you let people in a world that you're not sure that they understand, but somehow they do. And somehow they see you differently. God, what is happening? You let them feel your pain so that they can feel theirs. Vulnerably and okay. Oh, God. How do you do this to people who don't see you the way that you want them to? And how do you do it when there's so many people that see you in so many different ways? You do it in faith. If you watch Steve Verdict's elevation message this past week, he gives you a visual. I'm going to give you a visual of what he did, and it's very simple, okay? But I saw his visual differently, and I thought he was going to go there with it, and he didn't. So I'm going to show you it visually, okay? Again, just work with me, okay? He did the if. You do it in if. You do it in faith. You do it in the what ifs. So in your mind of fear, what if it doesn't work? What if they don't forgive me? What if they don't show that grace and mercy? What if they don't see my growth? And then you change the mindset and you go, what if I actually did this in a faith that I don't know? What if I actually did this in fear? What if I actually stood here boldly and did something that's never been done before in a way that people have never seen before? What if I do that knowing that I'm going into something that I'm going to be judged by the way that I look, the way that I act, the way that I present myself? She thinks she's God. She thinks she's Jesus. She thinks she's the Messiah. She thinks... Do I? Or do you think I think that of myself? Because I try to live a very humble life. I try very hard to stay humble and stay grounded in every moment of this. But the deeper we get, the harder this becomes. And this is why your influence, this is why your peeps are so important. To love you in a loving way, to help you see things that you don't see. But if they come at you wrong, you're going to put that wall up. You're going to put that defense up because they're not looking at you deeper. They're not understanding you. And so they've got to know you and where you're at in your journey to understand the walls and the boundaries and why they're there. Those are the peeps who get you through this. Those are the peeps who are with you. They're your ride or dies. They're the ones who will stand with you. They're the ones who will talk about you in a room that you are not in, and they will defend you in a room that you are not in. Who is defending Trump in a room that he is not in? Who is standing for Trump in a time and an era? You all have seen documentation of him shaking hands with the blacks. You have seen him shake hands with people that maybe in that time were his enemies. And maybe he was discerning, and maybe he was knowing things, and maybe he's been plotting and has evidence and documentation and has been doing and going. He's still got his hair. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks strong. He's got backup. He's got his peeps. He has his lawyers. He's got his money. His money is not running out. He's defending himself. He's got people. He's got the backup. He's not a politician. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for us. He's fighting for our generations. He's fighting for everybody. Are we backing the new world? Are we backing what makes sense? Are we backing? Biden's out. His body gave up. His dementia, his mind, his mental, everything deteriorated in front of everybody's eyes. Why? He was used as a vessel in which way? New level, new devil, new body. The fight's different. Be careful how you speak truth and make sure that what you speak truth in has backup that is true, that has backup that is real. We're moving quicker and we're moving faster. Does everybody understand how this is working? We are in Revelations. You are protected under the correct wing. No weapon shall form against you when you're aligned with God's truth. Your purpose on earth as it is in heaven doesn't change. It increases with your belief. It increases, it's getting hot in here. It increases with your understanding and your knowledge of who God says you are. And your truth, and your love, and your fruitfulness. This is all biblical, however you see God. Everybody has a gifting that God has given you for this time, for this era, for a purpose that we do not yet know. Change your mindset. Where did God plant your seed? How deep did you have to go to find your worth as a chosen one? Because we are all God's children that are chosen. Please tell me this is starting to make sense. Please tell me that everybody's eyes are starting to open to something bigger, something better, something more. I am beyond perfect, and anybody who knows me knows this about me. But I lived in chaos. I lived in confusion. I lived with mental illness. I lived with trauma. I lived with many, many things in my life. I'm a jack of a lot of trades. I've done a lot in my life, and I'm 48 years old. But somehow I relate to so many different people on so many different levels, and I don't quite understand all of this. I don't know how to explain God, and I do really, really hard to try and explain him in words. I try to explain him in actions. But please understand that I really don't understand God at all. I'm learning and I'm growing just like everybody else is. I just did something in fear. I just did something in boldness. I just did something that made absolutely no sense to me in a way that I wasn't sure that I could even explain that makes sense without offending somebody or scaring somebody or making this bigger than it needs to be or coming across that I'm trying to be a slut and I'm trying to get attention and I'm just trying to be me in a world that doesn't understand. And this is really hard to do. When you keep seeing things in flesh and not living by the Spirit, your soul, your inner being, who you are. And I try to be humble in it all, and I try to have my heart in it all. And I there are times where I am not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I get told all the time, put the cuckoo in the back of the clock. I get told this all the time, and I know. I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it because it seems to be something that I have to keep saying. I'm a lot. I know, I'm a lot. But I will push you. I will be in your face. I will speak in caps. And not because I'm angry, and not because I'm being a bitch, and not because I come across that way. I get it. I'm the nicest bitch you're ever going to meet. I get told this. I say this, and then people understand this now because everybody else I know is the nicest asshole and bitches I've ever met in my life. I don't know how else to explain this to people. I'm not holier than thou. I cuss. I swear. I am who I am. And I'll hit you at the core. But that's a spiritual thing because I see something in a lot of people that they don't see. And because I also know things that others don't yet know, I hit you at your core real quick because I'm trying to quickly save you, and I want you to learn this fast because I don't want you to be left behind. We're bringing in a harvest. Quickly. Does everybody see this? This is going faster now. Where's the boundaries? What are we setting? What are we doing, guys? What are we fleshing out? What do we need to flush? What do we need to do? How do we need to get people to see this quicker? We have to rise up. We have to bring the devil to his knees. We have to bring the devil back to hell. We have to bring him back in deeper. We have to shove him back in where he belongs. We have to keep the dark side dark as long as we can. But when the dark side has to come out, we have to understand our dark side, and we have to understand why we're there, why we're doing it, what we're doing. Is it for good or is it for evil? That's a very fine line, and a lot of us at some point in our journeys don't know anymore. Unless somebody pulls us out in our deepest, darkest holes. And you can do that with love, and you can do that with boundaries, and you can say something to somebody when you feel like you're supposed to say it. With love. Hey, I'm still here. How you doing? But then you just kind of back off. You ease into everything, right? But in my flesh, I'm not really good. I'm really impulsive in a lot of ways. And then I hit hard, and I do hard, and I do this a lot, you know? But I also have a lot of high energy, and so I come across people and I'm very high energy, and they're like, damn, she's a lot. She's so fucking loud. She's this, she's that. I know. That's where I'm at. That's my frequency. Maybe I'm supposed to be in that frequency for a reason. I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to change who I am because you're uncomfortable, or because I'm too loud for you, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. I am not. This is where gossip comes in, you guys. Somebody can tell me something about somebody, and I try really hard not to judge off of what somebody else says. I'm going to find that out myself. I am going to, until you do something to me, I don't have a right to judge anything that happened to somebody else. That was between you guys. That was something that happened with you. That had nothing to do with me. You get what I'm saying? So, it's really, really hard when you have a group of people, or you're building trust, or you're building circles, or you're growing a ministry. You have to trust certain people. You tell people certain things. But when the circles start to combine one another, it's really iffy. It's really, someone thinks you're gossiping about them. You start to hear different stories. You start to hear, this is where shit happens. This is where the shit hits the fan. This is where the devil starts to play its game. This is where things start to arise. This is where things start to be shaken up. Sometimes you're shaking it. Sometimes it's shaking. Sometimes you got to learn to be unshakable and understand what's happening in that circumstance, in that area, and that you got to discern. You have to know. Don't you do that within yourself? What are you trusting in yourself? What are you testing in yourself? You know, we repeat history. You can repeat a cycle over and over again. You're going to get tested in something over and over again. And you're going to keep getting tested in the same test until you pass it. God's still there. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? We change. Our mindset changes. Our heart changes. Our body changes. Things change. What are we doing in the change? What habits are we changing? What things are we doing to make it better, to do better, to be better? All we can do is do better and be better. We are not ever going to be perfect. Perfection comes from a state of mind of nothing that you ever do is good enough. So you have a way of looking at it as, I have to keep doing this until it's right, in a way that maybe is not mentally that great. And that's what causes OCD in a lot of ways, but you can use it for good, and I'll get there sooner or later in some point in this conversation, hopefully. But your state of mind can also live in chaos and confusion in some areas, but you strive in others. I struggle financially. I struggle in a lot of areas. I wasn't good in math. I'm not good, and so I lived in a survival mode a lot as a single mom. And so there are traits that I still carry. There are habits I'm trying to break. There are things that I'm trying to do, but I'm also trying not to be impulsive and ADHD in that process. So I'm learning to be still a little bit more. I'm learning to kind of sit back a little bit more. I'm learning to go, okay, weigh out these options. Be logical in your decisions. Understand the things you're doing. That's a grown up. That's a maturing. That's a growth. That's something different, if that makes sense to people. I'm immature in a lot of ways, but I'm mature in a bunch of other ways. But it just all comes with working together. I don't know how else to word this, but is this all like making sense to everybody? My sister said to me today, "Why do you always ask that? You ask that all the time. Does this make sense?" Because when you live in confusion a lot, you're not sure if how you're presenting yourself is of a stable mind at times. Spiritually, it's kind of like that. You go on a different level spiritually that not everybody understands. And so because you know that you look crazy to some people on that level, when you talk in your flesh, you kind of go, am I centered? Am I present? Am I here or am I up here? Am I higher? Am I at 5D? Am I seeing things at a different perspective? Or I'm right where my lens is supposed to be? Is my focus where I'm supposed to be? Because either way, it's all God. I took my time with God. I understood some things. I worked some things out with him. Him and I have had a talk. I've had my God time. I've praised him. I've worshiped him. I've done what I needed to do. And so then I've worked on myself and my learning and my growing and my understanding of some things and seeing things from other perspectives and taking responsibility and accountability for how things were said in a text and in a way. And I go, okay, you guys, like, it's a lot. Healing is freaking weird. And spiritually, it's all a roller coaster. And you got to kind of just let go and let God, and you just got to kind of let him lead, and at times it doesn't make sense, and sometimes you got to reflect, you got to go back, and you got to put all those pieces together and go, oh my God, you were in it even then. But sometimes in the moment you don't know, and you think God gave up on you, and you think that this is it, and you're done. But somewhere, somehow, you keep going. I'm going to encourage everybody just to keep going somehow. I'm going to tell you that the valleys, the hills, and the mountaintops are all going to be there. This is why it's like this. Sometimes you're floating down the river. Sometimes you're kayaking down the river and you're just enjoying it and you're just rowing and you're doing and you're at peace and you're working out and you're doing your thing. Sometimes you just want to sit in the water and chill. Sometimes you want to do the rapids and you want the rocks and you're like, I want that challenge. I want to see where that takes me. I want to go down that canoe. I want to go down that waterfall. And you're willing to challenge yourself and you're willing to do something different. And that's kind of like the ride with God. You're just going to try and do it differently. But you got to be a wild child for God. I think of those that are in my influence, and I think those that are in my circle, and I think those that I know that I'm reaching to, we're all wild children. We all were looked at wildly in different ways, I think. But we all have a voice, and we all have strengths. And we're all pretty badass people. We just got to figure out the balance. We got to figure out how we do this together. We got to figure out how to grow together. We got to figure out how to make these relationships work. We got to figure out how we're all going to live in a small town together. We're going to figure out, does this make sense to everybody? I'm going to leave it here. It was a lot. I'm a lot. I say this. I'm a lot. I know. I hope you stay tuned because I think this is gonna be good, you guys. God's good. He's a good God. He's a real good God. You just gotta believe. You gotta have faith. You gotta trust the process. You have to believe in yourself and who you are. Because what's meant to be will always be. What's supposed to come back will come back. What's supposed to grow will grow when it's supposed to grow. I have a friend whose ministry is flourishing because she heard God. She knows God. That ministry, God is in that ministry, you all. It's out of Arizona. It's out of Buckeye, Arizona. It's called Myrna's Place. Volunteers, lots of help. She needs it. She's growing. Leaps and bounds. And if you can help them, please help them. It's called Myrna's Place. Look it up on Facebook or, whatever. She's doing good things in her community with some help from some really deep places. And she's it's out of Buckeye, Arizona, if anybody knows that area. If you want a church that has God, there's a couple of them out there. This is all weird, you guys. I don't know. I'm not sponsoring anybody. I'm not getting anything from anybody. I don't make money off of any of this. I'm not a rich person by any means. I don't even have a vehicle right now, and I'm saving to get a car. Like, you guys, I'm doing this to help people. I don't have any personal gain in any of this. I don't have an agenda in any of this. I just have a heart in this. I have a heart for people. And I don't like seeing people hurting and struggling and doing bad. And there's a lot of good people that are hurting, if that makes sense. I love you guys. This wasn't easy. I'm gonna post this. I'm supposed to. This is so weird. Love you. Bye.